guys keep cutting us off, and it's hurting my feelings. It's hurting my feelings.
Hey guys, welcome to Game 2 between PsY and Janook. PsY did tape Game 1. He's starting in the bottom left-hand corner as the green Zerg. Bottom right-hand corner, we have Janook as the purple Protoss, and this is on Delta Quadrant, which again is a very strong map for Terran versus Zerg. I feel almost in particular because of just the wide natural expansion. Because yes, you have destructible rocks, but it takes a while to take those out. And just, I don't know, Hellion play and drop play, both strong, so it opens up a lot of build possibilities for Terran. Yeah, we'll see. PsY is a very strong player. Janook actually building a supply depot beneath his ramp. This is kind of interesting behavior.
Yeah, usually you follow that up with a barracks right next to it, and what that allows you to do is not give vision of the ramp. So if you have like a second or third barracks up there, they have no idea about that. So it's definitely a build that people do to kind of like hide something. Usually this indicates like a Marine or SCB kind of all in, or at least aggression. That's been my experience. So it'll be interesting to see how PsY reacts. He is going to scout out Janook first. He is not opting for the drone scout. He does have a gas going down now, so it's just going to be like a gas pool opening, which is good to see. Not going to take any risk with like a hatch first, because against an opening like this, it would probably be a very sad panda afterwards.
Yeah, the one thing that Janook needs to establish, though, is if he ends up losing position on that ramp at any point, it could be absolutely devastating, because he has those buildings on the low ground. It's still a wall, but that wall, it's still a funnel, is what it comes down to.
There was a drone scout, Diggity. I'm apparently completely blind, maybe even slightly mentally handicapped. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there also is a gas going down for the Terran player inside his base, so
yeah,
we won't be seeing at least a crazy Marine SCB all in.
Yeah, should be interesting, and I think I still might be able to get a little bit of scouting information depending on what he does with that Overlord, if he can actually swing it all the way around and hopefully not get it picked off in the meantime. PsY is opening up with Spawning Pool, and we'll see what he decides to do to follow this up, whether he's going to immediately go to Lair, if he's just going to produce a lot of Zerglings. He's just going with the standard 2 Zerglings thus far, and Janook not doing anything too crazy either. This looks like a very standard build aside from that barracks on the exterior of the ramp, building a supply depot up above, and actually almost looks like we'll check in a moment here. You got Orbital Command is up and running. Won't comment thus far to reveal things. Yeah, that's actually what I was expecting to see. Factory, so it looks pretty much like an early Hellion build, but he's going to have some difficulty getting that reactor up. He's going to actually have to do it directly on the factory just because of the positioning of that barracks.
Yeah, but I still like the positioning of the barracks, though, because it forces the Zerg to be like, well, what the hell is that? Because this is definitely the thing they see least in terms of openings from a Terran. So he actually went fairly standard play right after this, but look at what it's doing to PsY. He's kind of unsure of himself. He's still not, he mined that 100 gas for the metabolic boost upgrade for the speedlings, but since then he hasn't been mining gas. He's trying to just kind of get a feel for what's going on here, and Janook is at least at this time hiding his cards.
PsY has actually been constantly producing Zerglings at this stage, and has actually cut back on drone, cutting back on drone count a lot at all. So I almost wonder, a lot at all. That's good verbiage.
That's good words.
There you go, and control supporting here. Speed Zergling upgrade is going to finish momentarily. I almost wonder if he's going to make a dive at this front with what is a pretty sizable Zergling count here, or maybe he just wants to make sure he has position on what is now a push from Janook. That is now seeing the Hellions and several Marines, now PsY backing up a little bit, but just wanted to try to engage, provide a little bit, and Janook actually going Tech Lab first here on his factory, and actually getting dual Tech Lab, also has a Tech Lab out on his barracks, while PsY is taking a natural expansion. Janook saying, changed my mind. Actually deciding to shift builds. I like that friendly banter. Getting a siege tank out now at this stage, and perhaps on that barracks going to produce a couple of Marauder as well. PsY now has an opportunity to get his economy. He is set back a little bit because of those Zerglings, but those Zerglings at the very least did give Janook something to think about.
Yeah, I think the Zerglings were less on the aggression side and more on the, like, what the hell are you doing? I don't know, but if it ends up being like Marines or Hellions, I'm going to have enough Lings to counter it. And again, it's just kind of kudos to Janook for this creative opening. I like the utilization of it. And then meanwhile, back at PsY's base, he's only just now having taken his gas. He's up to like 84, 88 on the gas count, so he's definitely behind in tech. But it's going to be okay for the most part, because Janook's not looking to be aggression with the timing. He's actually expanding here.
Yeah, it looks like Janook getting an orbital command might leave that inside his interior for a little bit of time until he can clear that natural expansion, setting up a siege tank up on the high ground, maybe try to pick off a couple free Zerglings with some spotting. Those Zerglings just having a nice kind of river dance party there outside that natural expansion to try to deny it for the time being. But yeah, Psy a little bit late on his tech, perhaps not very comfortable in what's going on, has been somewhat confused by what Janook's doing. Suicide Overlord now going in, it's going to see that orbital command, and that's got to give a big sigh of relief. But oh my goodness, I just missed it just a moment, and all sorts of Zergling blood on the front, and it looks like most of the Marines survived. A couple of them did get incapacitated by their own shells, but that is going to open up that natural expansion from Janook, and Psy losing most of his defense force.
Yeah, we do have a sacrifice Overlord going through the Terran base, and it is going to see a majority of the tech. I think he might have actually caught a glimpse of the orbital command as well. But again, if you look over at Psy's base, we got a Baneling nest going down, no lair even thought of at this point in time. And of course, I have to say
expansion.
That is natural. Yep. But there are a bajillion Zerglings out here, so this could be like a mid-game Baneling bust type of thing, which would be, I think, one of the worst ideas of 2011. I'm going to make the bold statement because there's just a buttload of tanks on the Terran side, and they actually nom Banelings so good. Yeah. It's not going to be good for our hero.
I feel like Psy's in one of those situations where he was kind of off to a start that wasn't the best economically. He followed up, didn't feel very comfortable, and now, a lot of Zerglings probably going to transition into a Roach Baneling attack, and it looks like he is producing some additional drones. But I think if he does engage at all here, instead of taking additional expansions, he's going to end up hurting in the long run, because Janook, a lot of siege tanks already fielded, and that really will just weed out any Banelings very rapidly in the field. And this is, I got to say, very creative build from Janook to start. Baneling is being sparked.
What we're seeing from the Zerg player too, though, is like this is part of the weakness of Zerg, or the aspect that can be exploited. Like he felt the need to make all these Zerglings and Banelings because he lost all those Zerglings earlier, but even before that, he wasn't sure what the opening was. And what that does is it pulls away from his Harvester count. So that's why he's playing like catch-up all game long, and it looks like Janook's just kind of playing his own game, and it just happens to be a Zerg in the game as well, and he's like, oh, crap, you're my ugly neighbor, I got to kill now.
Yeah,
he's like not even concerned with scouting. He's not scanning or anything. Like he's done a little bit of that, but for the most part, he's just kind of building up to X amount of units, and it's, I guess, time to go ask the neighbor to leave.
Wow, Janook going actually to a very heavy mech medevac combination here. It looks, I would not be shocked to see a Thor pretty quickly here, although he's not getting an armory down as well. But placing down a second factory has the starport and the medevac, just because, not because I feel like that's an intelligent decision. I just know that tends to be his MO. But in the meantime, Psy building up a lot of Banelings, has Roaches still without any speed. It looks like he's going to go drop actually, upgrading Overlord speed as well as the Ventral Sacks. So that's an interesting follow-up. Baneling drops in the mid-match to try to cope with those siege tanks, but Janook looks like he's thinking about getting aggressive here, unsieging all of his tanks, and he's got a significant tank force, a lot of his Marines, and again, that medevac overhead, now moving with a couple SCVs to support as well, and this is going to be huge. Will Psy be able to cope with this attack? Trying to open up his gold expansion right at this stage, but particularly if he cannot, he does not see this incoming, he could get caught completely out of position. The siege tanks on the low ground, now finally spotting it, I believe, but it looks like the Banelings, oh man, this is not the position he wanted here, and Janook actually just establishing territory right in midfield, and this is going to be very difficult to evict.
Yep, and one of the true dangers of Terran is they're both pressuring and expanding at the same time. We do have a command center going down at the natural. He's continued to drop mules. Actually, fairly solid play by Janook, but this position is just rock frickin' solid. So, I mean, that Baneling drop, which was looking so cool, either Janook knows about it or he just is getting lucky here, because he's actually got missile turrets all over the place, both in this little push and at his mineral lines. So it would at least cost Psy more than he'd like. We do have these tanks just kind of crawling forward, establishing the control of that ramp. And the Roaches, they did not like that. A little bit of a headache coming down the ramp. They're like, geez, I was just trying to get with the rest of my friends. And
that's... Oh, here we go. Huge drop loaded up from Psy from the north, and that is mostly Banelings. Let's see if he can engage and drop it. Psy running. Oh, wow. Dropping. He's going to catch a lot of those Marines, it looks like, on that corner, but the Overlord's getting taken out in the meantime, so he's not going to get out of this unscathed. But Janook losing a lot underneath. Still a couple siege tanks. More reinforcements coming up. The Roaches coming up to support as well. And I think the Roaches will be able to clean up what is left, but a lot of damage wrought on both sides here. I definitely feel like PsY's in a much better position, though, than he was, but still significant losses.
He definitely won that fight, but at what cost? A tremendous holocaust on the Overlords. All his army, for the most part, is in shambles. And meanwhile, the Terran player is going to be able to convert this command center probably into an orbital command and just expand like nothing happened. So, very good play by Janook. I like the positioning. I mean, it's not like this is all some kind of racial imbalance. He's playing rock solid. I like his defensive, methodical play. PsY did a very good job of exploiting that drop and doing pretty much the only thing he could to bust it. And now some Marines caught on an island. They're like, no, we were just trying to destroy that debris. What are you doing? And they actually are able to run away because they've got some stim juice, whereas the roaches do not even have creeps. So they're going to get away, perhaps get a little bit of information before they die, and kill a neutral thing.
That's bad luck. That's bad karma, man.
It was like his goal. He was like, no, I got to go kill that thing over there.
PsY actually going to try to exploit some distance here, but at the same time, especially if we see an increase in medevacs that could maybe hurt him a little bit later, PsY, taking expansion away here instead of his a little bit closer gold expansion or that inside natural expansion, actually tacking on additional hatchery, which leads him to believe he's going to go a little bit more Zergling and Baneling heavy to follow us up with some larva. Janook now taking some siege tanks to take out that gold expansion rather than exposing his Marines to any, and that, I got to say, that little engagement was actually huge for PsY because that did slow Janook down economically. That is going to give him an opportunity here to continue to expand, keep his economy up. And in the meantime, looks like PsY is getting a huge creep spread out on that front door. Looks like he's creeping directly, also taking that 9 o'clock base, simultaneously the 9 o'clock gold expansion. So Janook actually is at a point where he needs to do something here to slow PsY down, and PsY moving out with a lot of roaches now.
Yeah, he's looking to get in here perhaps before that orbital command, or excuse me, the command center becomes a planetary fortress. Or he's just actually chilling over there, because that is a cool place to chill. So we do have that command center. It is landing. It's going to become a planetary fortress. Pretty much the only thing Janook can do at this stage is just kind of turtle his economy into equal, try to push into that equal standing. But after losing that army and losing the main thrust of his push, this is how Terran follows it up. Very strong defensive play, very absorbent. It does look like PsY is going to poke and prod here at least a little bit. He is outside range of the tank, so he is getting some free hits. That orbital command, or excuse me, planetary fortress went down and almost 0 hits on PsY. And now that he's actually getting dinged up by those tanks, he's backing off. So 1 planetary fortress for the cost of a few roaches. Pretty damn solid play by PsY. Wonderful decision there.
One thing I would like to see PsY do, which it looks like he's doing now, is load up some of those overlords, exploit Janook's. He's locked into siege tanks. He's not extremely mobile. That expansion along. If you go to his main, he's only got a couple turrets there to defend. You could wreak a lot of havoc. But Janook trying to reestablish position across that natural. Oh man, getting caught immediately by PsY. Banelings everywhere, roaches as well, and that was absolutely crushed. And I got to give it to PsY right there. That just shows you what a fantastic player he is. Janook running up for a quick counterattack, and he annihilated that attack almost instantaneously and came out of it really with what I would consider to be minimal losses for an engagement of that size. So beautiful play.
Yeah.
Beautiful play, and now it looks like PsY has creep up there, engaging a little bit too close. Actually has a queen up on the front as well, which is, goodbye.
She's just like slowly walking towards the tower, like, don't worry, boys, I've got this.
I am the hero. But in the meantime,
gotta be not liking your chances. He just lost that planetary fortress. He just lost his army for the 2nd time. Terrans usually go to sleep with nightmares of creep all over the map and then bases all over the map. And guess what? Your nightmare is real. He's got bases everywhere. He's got creep everywhere. It looks like PsY is totally just taking control of this game and playing really, really well. He doesn't just commentate. He doesn't just manage an amazing YouTube channel. He also plays this game at a pretty damn high level. The guy's like a little mini awesome superhero type of guy.
Definitely a mini awesome superhero type guy. I think those are the exact words I would use, actually. Looks like another drop with just a couple of banelings with 2 overlords to try to protect here, going towards that planetary fortress once again. But another engagement that I'm missing beneath. Janook once again getting some siege tanks in position now, some medevacs, and somehow Janook actually able to penetrate towards the main. But the question is,
this is desperation. He's not going to have the amount of floors to hold this out, but he had to try, I think.
You got the roaches and the banelings that are going to crash down almost immediately, going to wipe this force out fairly quickly, and it looks like, I assume we're going to see a GG as soon as this army's wiped out.
Yep, and that's the 3rd time he's lost his army. If he hangs on here, he's having delusions of grandeur, But, at the same time, it's his right to spin longer. You know what, PsY? You want me, come at me, is basically what he's saying. Like, he keeps moving out and using his army, but...
in the meantime, it looks like PsY is just having fun running all over the map. More siege tanks getting caught out in the open by those roaches. Medevacs right there, and now it looks like PsY doesn't even care. He's just going to march straight through, even though this is, and he has the troops to do it, really. He's going to drop along that back corner. The SCV's coming off the line just in time to get nailed by Banelings. Ow. Oh,
this is not Janook's day, but, hats off to him as well. He is going to go down 0-2 here against PsY. But PsY was one of the favorites to advance from the group, and at the same time, Janook, really creative play, really strong, methodical pushes. He managed his economy fairly well. It's very obvious he's a competent player, and there's the GGWP